One legend, two truths, two competing versions of history. On the surface, the story of the Nazi gold train is a myth, a wartime fairy tale. But behind the scenes, a deep and bitter divide has been formalized by a top-secret agreement, an accord that could hide the greatest treasure of World War II. Tonight, we can reveal the existence of a secret post-war deal, brokered in the chaos of a fractured Europe. It is called the Owl Mountain Accord, an agreement designed to suppress the truth, but one that has instead ignited a Cold War between official denial and relentless pursuit. At the heart of this enduring mystery lies a single, explosive document, or rather, the rumor of one. It's known as the Owl Mountain Accord. The story goes that in the chaotic months immediately following Germany's surrender, with borders being redrawn and millions of people displaced, a clandestine summit was convened. High-ranking officials from the victorious Allied powers and the ascendant Soviet Union met in secret, far from the press and public oversight. Their objective was not to celebrate victory, but to contain a threat they believed could plunge the continent back into chaos. The result was a radical and deeply cynical compromise, allegedly hammered out over 72 tense hours. The accord was designed to stabilize this volatile region by neutralizing its most dangerous secret, the location of the gold train. Its core tenet was absolute denial. The document, if it exists, is a masterclass in institutional secrecy. It reportedly contains clauses that not only formally bury the train's existence, but also establish protocols for actively discrediting any claims to the contrary. It was an agreement to enforce a lie for the sake of peace. Allied and Soviet powers mutually consented to classify all intelligence related to the train, effectively erasing it from official history. Their justification was pragmatic, preventing a modern-day gold rush. The fear was that confirmation of such a treasure would attract rogue militias, Nazi sympathizers, and organized crime, potentially sparking a new, localized war on the sensitive border of the emerging Iron Curtain. The accord was a pact to choose stability over truth, but a secret of this magnitude is nearly impossible to keep. While governments enforced their official narrative of silence, a different reality was taking root on the ground. Driven by local whispers passed down through generations and the tantalizing clues left behind in the landscape itself, a dedicated community of independent researchers and treasure hunters refused to let the story die. They continued to search, operating on faith, folklore, and fragments of evidence. In doing so, the Accord inadvertently created the very schism it sought to prevent. Not a conflict over gold, but a conflict over reality itself. It established two competing truths, coexisting in the same haunted landscape. But instead of creating harmony, the Accord has created two rival camps, each with its own staff, its own agenda, and its own version of the truth. Government agencies and independent treasure hunters are now locked in a silent war, leaking competing information to the press and pursuing conflicting strategies on everything from public statements to secret expeditions. The alleged leak of the Owl Mountain Accord did more than just reignite a decades-old legend. It drew a definitive line in the sand, cleaving the world of historical investigation into two distinct, warring camps. This wasn't merely a disagreement among historians or treasure hunters. It was the formalization of a deep ideological rift that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. On one side, the established order armed with the power of the state. On the other, a determined coalition of outsiders, driven by a belief in radical transparency. The Accord, whether real or not, became the catalyst for a conflict over the very soul of history. Who gets to write it, who gets to own it, and who gets to profit from it.
From a state security perspective, this is a geopolitical nightmare. The Accord, by its very existence, formalized the factions. It gave them a banner to rally under. Suddenly, you don't just have scattered researchers. You have a movement. And you don't just have quiet diplomatic understandings. You have a codified secret policy that is now, allegedly, in the public domain. It's a crisis of information control. The first camp, what we can call the stability camp, is comprised of official channels, government agencies, certain historical institutions, and diplomatic corps. Their primary directive is to maintain the delicate geopolitical stability built over the last 75 years. They want to deny the wartime chaos, because acknowledging a secret agreement to manage Nazi assets opens a Pandora's box of legal and diplomatic challenges. Their greatest fear is a modern gold rush. Imagine thousands of amateur prospectors descending on Lower Silesia, a region with already complex borders and histories. It would be uncontrollable, dangerous, and could trigger international incidents. So, their strategy is one of containment: classify, deny, and discredit. Then you have the second camp, the disclosure camp. These are the independent researchers, investigative journalists, and private exploration groups. They are driven by a potent mix of motives. For some, it's the sheer scale of the potential treasure, a life-altering discovery. For others, it's a purist's quest for historical truth. They fundamentally believe that the past cannot be a state secret. They argue that the truth, no matter how disruptive, must come out. They see the stability camp not as protectors of order, but as gatekeepers of history, hiding the final explosive chapters of the Second World War for their own convenience. They feel the consequences of the truth are a price worth paying. These two philosophies are now in direct daily conflict. It's a shadow war fought on multiple fronts. The stability camp uses official statements, declassification denials, and subtle media influence. The disclosure camp uses freedom of information requests, data leaks, ground-penetrating radar, and the court of public opinion. Every new piece of evidence, every anonymous tip, becomes a battleground.
At its heart, it is a battle of ideas, a philosophical war over our relationship with the past. The first truth: governments must control the past to secure the present. They believe history is a powerful, volatile force that, if mishandled, can shatter peace and undo decades of diplomacy. For them, stability is the ultimate treasure, and secrecy is the guard that protects it. The second truth: the past must be unearthed to enlighten the future. These independents believe that history belongs to everyone, and its secrets, no matter how dark or valuable, cannot be the property of the state. For them, the potential for wealth is secondary to the right to know. These are the two truths of the Owl Mountain legend, and the Accord, this single contested document, has given both sides the perceived authority, the justification, and the power to fight for their vision of the world. The conflict it created may prove to be more consequential than any treasure it might conceal. The secret Owl Mountain Accord was meant to bury the legend of the Nazi gold train. Forged in the quiet, wood-paneled rooms of post-war diplomacy, its objective was clear: to prevent a chaotic modern-day gold rush that could destabilize a continent still healing from its wounds. The architects of this pact believed that some secrets are too dangerous to be unearthed, capable of reopening complex legal battles over ownership and igniting fresh geopolitical tensions. They sought to impose order on a legend that defied it, to file away a historical anomaly under lock and key, and to ensure the official narrative remained undisturbed. But in their attempt to control history, they created a paradox. Instead of erasing the legend, the Accord gave it a new, more dangerous form. It may be the very thing that triggers its slow, inexorable rediscovery. By dividing the truth, it has created a battle for control between two opposing forces. On one side are the guardians of the Accord, the state actors and intelligence agencies who see the treasure not as a prize, but as a geopolitical landmine. Their mission is containment. Their methods are secrecy and misdirection. They operate in the shadows, managing the official story and working to neutralize any credible threats to its integrity. On the other side are the seekers of disclosure, a loose coalition of independent historians, rogue journalists, and determined treasure hunters. Driven by a thirst for truth, fame, or fortune, they piece together the puzzle from declassified fragments, anonymous leaks, and on-the-ground exploration. For them, the Accord is not a tool for stability, but a conspiracy to conceal a monumental truth. This is the unstable legacy of the Owl Mountain Accord, a quiet war for the soul of history, where no one knows who is truly in charge. Every redacted document, every sealed archive, every denied access request only fuels the fire of suspicion. The official silence is interpreted as confirmation, and the lack of evidence is seen as proof of a cover-up. The very measures designed to secure the secret have made its existence more plausible and its potential discovery more volatile. In this fractured reality, the hidden Nazi treasure has never been more unstable, balanced on a knife's edge between permanent secrecy and explosive revelation. Please subscribe to our channel, History Documentary, hub for more insightful videos and